What's up, nerds? Welcome back to another episode on the Create Mod. Last week, I did a live stream where I finished the back of the barn, and as you can see here, we actually have some cool detailing work that I didn't super copy over to the other side, but I did remove some of the lights here just to remove some of the repetitive patterns of these, like lights lighting up the background. And from down here, it just looks like a pattern because you couldn't really see the lights. But now if we look, you can see that it's actually not a pattern of lights, and I think looks a little bit better. But today we're not working on this at all. Instead, as I promised, we are working on this building here. In all honesty, we're probably not going to finish it, but I do want to get at least like this half done. The other half will come, but it'll have a different style. I plan on doing this one with like a one-story type of thing, and then the other one being 2 stories. But to get started, I need some materials. So quick material gathering time, let's go. We have at least a good starting point. As you can see, quite a few interesting blocks. The first thing we need to do is take down this stone brick, because instead we're going to be doing mud. This is going to be more of a like darker-ish, orangey browny build. I mean, this one is literally all orangey browny red, but there's not going to be, I'm lying. I was going to say there's not going to be any like gray or white, but that's why we have the observers, droppers, whatever. I'm loosely copying, I guess. I took inspiration from Impulse's build on Hermitcraft, where he made the reactor thingy. So I'm loosely copying that. It'll be quite different, but still loosely copying it. But I have to remove all of this stone brick because we're doing mud instead. All right, and I thought, why not copy some smallish beans a little bit and do one of these things where I build and talk to you at the same time. So the bottom 3 is going to be similar to the other building here, but with some texture, because texture is important. And I'm just going to be throwing up some rooted dirt mud blocks here all the way around. It's going to be the same all the way around. All right, and that bit is done. That didn't take too long. Now comes the more annoying part. I am going to grab all these droppers and observers and stuff. I have to clear out my inventory because there's too much mud. That's what happens when you roll around in the sand, in the sandy mud. And then we got observers, blast furnaces, and droppers. And then I probably want some temporary blocks. And I'm going to do something that I saw from Impulse as per usual, as I mentioned earlier, where this is like going to be a too tall little doohickey here. It's just going to be a Mod Podge, I think that's a real word, of droppers and stuff to make it look busy on this area. So you'll see it once I get a little bit more in here, but the main bulk of the base is going to be quite simple and basic, and then this is going to be the area that mostly draws your attention. And then we can do cool stuff with droppers and the observers. Since they're directional, they have little arrows on them, as you can see. So if we make them go upward, it has a whole new texture, which is super neat. So let me do this for just a quick second, and then you can hopefully see about what the final product is going to look like. All right, and that has now been done all the way around the ring here. Now I think it might be a good idea to get going with the main bits, the main bitty bits of this thing. So we're going to use brown terracotta for most of it. Brown terracotta is interesting because it's a dark color and brown. That's the color theory class for today. Thank you all for coming. And we're going to do 7 blocks wide for each section of this, and then a 2-block gap for these gray things to go up, and then another 7-block thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the same thing again, and then another 2-block gap. And then once we get to the entrance, we'll just do whatever it'll let us. But this is kind of what it's going to look like. We obviously have to extend these bits up. Of course, it's raining. Just like that. There we go. And then for now, I'm just going to load this up with brown terracotta so that we can get a good vibe of the area. So that's going to be how tall it is. There's obviously going to be some more texture on these walls, but for now, let's just get them in. I've only semi-built this in creative. I do like a little test piece in creative just to make sure it doesn't look super, super dumb. But I haven't done all of it. So you're going to be doing this kind of with me. I'm going to grab some of the bricks that I made that you saw for maybe a quarter of a millisecond. And in the corners here, I'm going to make it feel like moss is starting to grow in. And these different brick flavors are actually pretty cool. And oh, I forgot one ingredient. Hopefully we actually have enough of it. And I know this is going to look out of place for now, but once this oxidizes, I think it's only one step, so it shouldn't even take that long. But once that oxidizes, it'll look even better. And then we're gonna do this in all 4 corners, kind of like just seeping in slightly, just to make it look like it is breaking open and apart just a little bit. Oh, and you can already see, this is the color that we're going for. Not this stupid bright one. It's supposed to be more muted, more oxidized. I might need to go make a honey farm maybe next episode so that we can actually keep them like exposed and wax them instead of them just going to the super green that's on the roof right now. But that's the color we're going with. As you can see, it blends in so much more and actually fits instead of just being ugly and bright. And that is now done. As you can see, we've already converted one more over here, which means this should be pretty fast to actually convert. Now I obviously have to do this for the rest of the walls. So, it's done. I'm just joking. I still have to do it. As I was building this, and as you could probably tell, it's kind of ugly. So I'm going to change up the style a little bit. If you could just follow me over here. As you can see, up in this corner here, I've already changed up a little bit. The thing that I'm running into is that there's no like cohesiveness. So they just look like scattered bits. And I did kind of want to make it like a mossy, like in the corners thing, but I don't think that's going to work as well as I'd like. So I'm going to switch it over to it being a rusted type of thing. And obviously we're not going to use granite here. I just didn't have any terracotta. So I think using this might be good. And then we can see if it'll actually work. It might even be better instead of normal terracotta to do a transition between the brown here and the red. So granite isn't too horrible. I just think it's not the perfect color. Okay, this is going to be the new look, and I was comparing between orange and normal terracotta, and I honestly think the normal is going to look better, and I think we can add more details to the wall if it still looks bland after we're finished building the rest of the base. So now comes the point where I have to redo everything, which is great. This bad boy is a little bit done, at least the front wall kind of is. We mixed it up. I think it looks better. I still think it's missing some details, but I'm not going to go into it yet, just in case it'll look good by the time we're done. Because I do think the furnaces, blast furnaces, droppers, and observers is supposed to direct most of your attention. So I'm going to leave any detailing of these walls until the very end when I absolutely need more details. We now need to get working on the roof, and I guess kind of the other furnace pillars here, because I don't have those on any of the other sides. So I guess quickly, let's do the corner pillars, and then we can get to the roof. And I bet you're wondering, hey, why are the walls still brown when the thumbnail it's clearly not brown? And that's because I didn't like the final result, so we changed it, and I'll show you that later. But I wanted your input on whether you liked the brown or if you like the new design more. So let me know down in the comments which one you prefer, and if brown is a resounding yes, then we'll switch it back. All right, and then we built up a little smokestack attempt here. I ran out of smooth stone, but this is about what it would look like. We obviously need to detail this thing and make it look good. I'm not really sure how I like it. I haven't done this bit in creative at all. So maybe I need to hop in there and really quick figure out what's going on. But the rest of the base is pretty much done. The rest of the build is pretty much done. I'm still not super sold on all of the rust that's going on, but maybe if for places here, I can change around some of the colors and that might make it look better. We can continue tweaking this as we go on. But the final step is the smokestack, and I don't think smooth stone is going to work. So I'm going to go down as much as it'll let me, which is just that much. But this would go up probably to there, and I think it starts out too wide. But then also I think the stone is too much a contrast with the brown terracotta. So I think I'm going to go hop into creative and figure out a good looking thing for this, because right now it's not working. I have a solution. The only issue, as you've seen probably from the thumbnail, I assume I've included it somewhere, is that I do not have the blocks for it. So I guess we need another quick time-lapse session montage of me getting all the blocks that I need for this big old circle. I think it's going to look really nice and kind of cool. I don't know what it will fully look like, but I at least have a plan, which is better than before. So I've seemed to run into a slight predicament, and that slight predicament is probably like 2,000, 3,000 blocks in bone blocks, which are notoriously a challenge to get. I just converted all of my bones from the skeleton spawner over here, we have 3 now, into bone blocks, and we have 181 bone blocks, which means at this rate I would need to AFK at the skeleton farm for, I think, 4.5 years, which might mean that I need to make a bone meal farm, which isn't too terrible, and probably easier in the create mod than with other things. This means I need to make a cobblestone generator or something if I'm going to use the normal vanilla bone meal farm with some like create mod tweaks or something. So I suppose maybe we try to figure out a cool way to make a bone meal farm using the create mod instead of just doing the standard moss to bone meal conversion type thing. Now that I'm thinking about it, we have a billion farms here that all produce seeds and stuff. Some of them are trampled or whatever, but they all produce compostable objects. So I thought, why not just increase the composting production? And then we have some hoppers down here. I already have a couple stacks from one of the hoppers being filled up, but we have so much in the backlog, 3,000 straw, all of which is compostable, something. So I'm just going to compost most of this stuff. And now I guess I get to sit here doing nothing, twiddling my thumbs until bones get turned into food. That was a meal joke. I caved. And instead of twiddling my thumbs for the past day and a half, I have been making a bone meal farm. You might be asking, why not just do one in vanilla? That's a great question. It's because I was like, there's no way that's the easiest way to do it. And it probably was, but I also found this cool design from a YouTuber. I'll put him on the screen now. I think he like just has a couple videos showing off some cool stuff, but this is like from ages and ages ago, where most of the stuff doesn't even work anymore. So wherever it's happening, shoots being able to go into composters is no longer a thing. So like that's how old it is, if that's a good indication. But by probably maybe compacting his design more my style and his not working in this 1.20 Create Perfect World game, I made this bone meal farm, which is basically the same speed as the vanilla one, but I made it, so that's pretty cool. And it has the benefit of looking super dope, because look at that. Oh, it squeezes it out all like that. So basically what it does is it gets stone, converts it to moss, turns it moss into bone meal. This is revolutionary, folks. And it's actually not too slow. It produces 20,000 moss per hour-ish and about 2,000 bone meal per hour-ish, which is pretty good. I've been literally running it for probably an hour and 10 minutes. And we're at 2.425. And it just uses, like, we lose 1 bone meal from despawn every 5 minutes or whatever, which is so negligible that I just didn't bother putting in a request system. But enough talking. There might be a tutorial on this if you all care. Like, if you want a tutorial on this, then for sure, I can throw schematics in the schematic thing too, if that's necessary. But honestly, the only real reason I made this was because for some reason in all of the 1.20 tutorials, bone mealing moss from below the stone should turn this into stone, but it doesn't, and it doesn't at any level ever, which is so strange. So I don't know if that's a create mod thing or me thing, or like just I'm unlucky, or if I'm playing in 1.20.1 or something, but that doesn't work. So I needed to put the moss that we're bone mealing on top of the stone, which does reduce the rates by 2 blocks. As you can see, those 2 blocks below this dispenser and moss block will literally never turn into moss. But that's basically negligible. And I mean, 2,000 bone meal an hour is good enough. And I already have a schematic of it. So I think I just need to gather the materials, throw this into our world, and then sit AFK and have it be faster. Also, since I haven't been on this server, or this map, this world, this whatever for a while, this is my first time seeing this in like a day and a half. And honestly, I like it way more than I did before. So good job, previous me. I'm thinking we build the thingy in this barn here because, I mean, bone meal is like basically a plant, and I feel like it makes sense for it to be in here. I am not sure if it'll fit, so we'll have to do the math there, but it maybe might. And I think it'd be kind of neat if this is like a super crowded barn. So I need to grab some schematics. All right, so this is how big this thing is. One thing I need to verify before I actually build this in survival is if it's directional or not, because some of the moss farms are in fact directional, but also I think this is going to be too big for the barn. I will try my best to fit this thing in here. We're basically already at the width of the barn. Well, I'm going to just bring you with me. All right, so this is the size of it in the new base building that we're building. It takes up so much space. Oh my gosh, really? It didn't look that big. That is huge. I guess I'm very happy that I built, oh, I am building, it's not done. I am building the second area because, oh my goodness. This is definitely the biggest machine I've ever made. It just needs a lot of horizontal space, I think, is the biggest issue with this, because moss will not convert if there's blocks above it, which is why these 2 blocks are never going to be moss, because there's 2 blocks above it. So you need to scooch it all the way over. But I think, honestly, this is a pretty good spot. So I'm going to yeet down the cannon. Tell me what you need from me. All right, so this thing is relatively affordable. I think that's going to be the biggest setback here. And maybe the biggest lag causer? Ruh-roh. Maybe I switch this to just andesite funnels or something else. Belts, perhaps? I don't know. Well, I fixed the hopper issue by just doing belts instead. And also, totally forgot, but it doesn't use any stress units, which pretty neat, if you ask me. We are getting a little bit of falling edge. Hopper issue is no more. I don't even know how many hoppers we have now. 28. I think we lowered it by 100. And from what I've gathered, it's only kind of directional. You just need to either add or remove a gear shift, and then otherwise it'll work. Oh, you know what's cool about having a backpack with all your create stuff is that if you put it down next to it, you get a boatload of things checked off already. Love that. But I still have like 84 million lines of things that I need to do, so not great. All right, schematic cannon should be good other than the creative motor, which we're not in creative, so we don't have. And I'm so scared of pressing start, and I don't know why. I feel like I'm always scared. Go. Okay, it's working. I don't know what I expect, but every time I turn on the schematic cannon, I'm always terrified of it breaking something. So I'm just gonna watch from up here. Oh boy, it is done. Finished. Okay, this looks like the thing that we care about. I do need to fill this in with a hint or 2 of bone meal, and then otherwise it'll turn on and continue running by itself. But I'm honestly terrified of turning this thing on. But first what I gotta do is fill in all the water, fill in all the lava, because it doesn't do that for you either. And we should be able to see if all of these are filled. The reason I'm checking this so closely is because I am terrified if any of these are not filled with water, because then we'll have lava spreading everywhere and it'll be hard to fix, and it's a whole debacle. And then I'm just going to grab the glue and double check that it did everything right, which it looks like it did actually, so that's good news. So obviously we need to connect this bad boy to power, which you can low-key connect it anywhere except for that gantry shaft, and it'll work. So I'm just going to carry power all the way over from way over here. So hopefully everything's going the right way. This will be a good test. It looked like it worked perfectly right away. Awesome. So the only change that I've found for directionality is that you'll need to just remove this shaft and replace it with a vertical gearbox or a gearbox or any way to reverse the polarity of this gear shift here. And then otherwise it'll just work, I think. So let me quickly grab some bone meal just so we can fill up the dispensers. And I'm just going to grab all of it. It doesn't matter. We're going to make a boatload more. And then I'm going to throw, sure, 3 stacks and 3 stacks. So if we turn this thing on, it should start going. So the first round will just be stone and not work. And then perfect. That's good news. Looks like everything's working and we're getting bone meal back up top. I think everything's working here. While testing, yeah, and we got some here. There is some items being dropped down, but that is the cost of not having 100 extra hoppers. So I think lag-wise, it's actually better to just have items floating, if because it's only like 1 or 2, and they despawn after 5 minutes anyway. So I don't think I'll be too worried about it. Obviously, I haven't tested it for more than like an hour and a half, and of course it's raining. But I think now will be the first like super long test of this thing, and I will come back with any issues that I run into. It is 4 or so hours later, I set up a little itty bitty, like, just crafter for bone blocks, and we have quite a few. This is definitely not going to be enough for the big ol' spire thing that we're making, but it's a very, very good start, and it'll at least let us build while this thing keeps running. It's a pretty simple design. It's just bone blocks all the way around in a tower shape, and a little secret of these things continuing up, which at least during my testing looked super dope. So we're going to continue it. I guess there's nothing else to do other than just start building. So enjoy the last little bit of the time lapse for this tower. We're done. As you saw in the time lapse, it went a little longer than it should have. After I built this, I was like, dang, this looks kind of bad. So now I changed it again. This is the 3rd change that we've made so far. So killing it on 3 CPE changes per episode for the build. But I think this looks dope. And once we get in the other half of the build, I think it'll fully tie it all together. But we've done so much this episode. We built a moss farm. We built this entire building. We changed it 3 times, 5 times. We changed it 18 times. And I suppose that's probably why you test things in creative. But with all that progress, I'm going to leave this episode here. In the next episode, we're going to work on the interior. It's a little bit dark in here, and this is dirt and not real roof. So I hope to get some pathways in, light it up, maybe move up this thing. And next episode, I'm going to show you a couple of options so that we can vote on what we want to do with the lava pit. If we want to do the glass fog technique or 18 different variations of those. So that'll be next episode. So thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, be sure to like. If you have any critiques, criticisms, anything you want to change about this build, leave it down in the comments and I'll read it for sure. I might not do it because that might be a lot of work. But yeah, that's all. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you all Friday. Peace.